Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Stubbe. Welcome to the next episode of Agents of AI, the podcast and discussion series that is centered around the topic of agentic AI, but also featuring some valuable members of the ecosystem from Capto. Capto is a provider of custom open source AI agents. We do this as a way to feature our friends, clients, allies, partners, all of the above. And we're very excited to today feature a very wise individual, the Intelligence Owl, we will call them going forward. But Intelligence Owl, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit further? Don't say your name or where you work, but this will be a good opportunity to share some teases or ways for people to guess who it might be. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we will reveal the Intelligence Owl's automation at the Intelligence Owl's identity at the end of the discussion here. So go ahead, Intelligence Owl. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting. So let me see. I've been in the industry for 25 years. I've worked in and around the topic of AI, automation, and IT in that time. I've worked on 2 continents. I've had an exciting corporate career. And for the last 15 months, I've been independent and I've been helping small and medium-sized businesses and their leaders figure out what do we do with AI, what should our roadmap be, and how do we bring our employees on board and increase their literacy for AI.
Excellent. Well, that's a perfect tee up to who I know is a lot of our audience is the SMB people in the world who are enthusiastic and understanding of their need to adopt AI, but maybe feeling a little bit intimidated that they aren't that large corporation. So really excited for you to share some input here that will hopefully be motivating towards folks that are in that position. Why don't we start still, though, with a little bit more of a segue of just who you are and what you enjoy most about your career and your role. I think it's especially exciting to be talking to you now that you're an independent advisor and somebody that operates more autonomously, moving on from the corporate life. So yeah, what do you like most about that? Like maybe again, also some inspiration for people that are in a similar position out there. Yeah.
So like I said, what's been motivating me since my early days in IT has been building something and then seeing how you can scale it, across the organization, how you can scale it across multiple clients, and most importantly, conceptualizing it in a way that it allows you to do that. You're not stuck with support tickets and grumpy customers because things aren't working. Now I get to apply that in the context of AI. And what's exciting me about this so much is that, I mean, there's so many questions still. There's so much to do, and no 2 days are alike. From those clients that are already a little further ahead on their journey, who've maybe rolled out Copilot or ChatGPT or some other AI tools, and we're now looking to get their team members to use them, right? Get people off of the public version of ChatGPT and Copilot and onto something where we know it's safe and secure. How do you do that? How do you help people embrace AI and understand it as well? Just because you have it at your fingertips doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're 20% more productive or you're a power user or a good user of these technologies, when everybody's just kind of figuring it out as they go. So one of my latest missions has been, how can we actually counter this topic of AI work slop, right? People use AI to create something, and they get it out the door, it lands in your inbox. Can you review this? And then you're stuck going through, this mediocre content that somebody else has created because they didn't spend enough time or didn't do this with enough diligence as they should have. So how can we help companies solve that? On the other hand, clients that are earlier in their journey, it's a lot about, we're now getting serious about this. We've waited and we've seen what's happening in the industry. We're seeing everybody move into this space. Now we want to do that too. Can you help us figure out who should our first AI leader be? Who should they report to? What skills do they need to have? Is that somebody we have in our own organization? Should we hire somebody from external? And how do we set up our strategy and governance? Because our employees are running down our door and saying, I need AI, I want AI. Can you help me? And we're stuck figuring out, well, Are we now paying for 3 tools that do the same thing? Can we consolidate? Do we even do this? Do we need this? And so on. So it's a breadth of tasks and projects, and that makes it so exciting, because obviously what you learn in one part also helps in other parts in other projects.
Perfect. Well, a great segue to my next question, because I feel like you could even go a little bit deeper on what you were just saying, but what do you feel like is something that's most underappreciated about your work with clients? Something that maybe, I think maybe a good way to posture this and a little bit different than past guests would be like, what is something that you went into a client, a client project, not really expecting it to be like the top key deliverable, but looking back on the project and maybe as the project has progressed, it came to light as something that was just super important of the value that you brought to them. What does anything come to mind on that aspect?
So something that happened recently in a client engagement that fits this pretty well is, and by the way, maybe you've seen this in your roles if you're listening as well. Yes, there's always the technology side, but more importantly, there's the people side, right?
Yeah.
You can build the most sophisticated solution if the people or the person using it doesn't fully understand how things work, because maybe you've built them in ways that are too complex, or maybe the person is just warming up to the idea of using technology to complete a task. Right? If you over-engineer it, it's wasted effort. So recently I've been working with the client on helping them automate their newsletter generation process. Not so much what you see on YouTube or these tutorials where we aggregate news from other sources, but really write parts of the article with the help of an LLM, have a workflow, have an agentic workflow that helps you in certain areas. And so as we're progressing this and getting more to user acceptance testing and integration testing, the person who's going to use it once we go live said, well, I want to try it out, but I'm also a little afraid because I don't fully understand how it works. And I know I don't need to understand it in each and every detail, but that showed me that we actually need to still spend a lot of time and care with the people who are going to use these solutions that we're building, whether they're off the shelf, whether they're custom built. And let's just not underestimate and underappreciate that, hey, they're real people using the software. So our goal as providers, as advisors, as integrators, if you will, is really to also make sure that people who use the products know how to use them and feel confident in using them above all.
Great. That's a great answer and really aligned to a lot of what your fellow guests say in this program or choose to highlight in this program. And for me, as the host, it's really important for me to call out how frequently our guests mention the human element of AI and how important it is. I think that we're continuously bombarded with the non-human elements, or the dreary, scary elements of what AI brings to the workforce. But this program is really keen to highlight people who are providing answers like yourself, and you're deeply involved with AI projects at a variety of organizations. So that's incredible to hear. The final thing that I would share on this front, this is also a little bit of a self-promotional thing here, but something unique that we do as a part of this program is populate our own AI twin with all the discussions of the event. So there's a lot of overlap in the response and the importance of human elements in AI projects. And it's also very frequently the question that people are asking that AI twin. So please go on and access that, ask your question your own way. And I think the answers are really, really interesting and will only get better with time as we continue to train that AI, that private AI twin. So let me stop pitching ourselves over here and continue on with the discussion in terms of focusing on those AI use cases. And, Mr. Intelligent Al, you've been a part of the space for quite some time now. So I'm sure that this definition is, it's a little bit challenging to answer, but do you recall the first time or an early AI use case that you put into production? Can you talk about some of the basics of what that was? I would ask, maybe it could be aligned to like your more recent role as a freelance person. because I feel like that would be more aligned with what we consider AI today.
Sure.
But go ahead. Yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on there. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, two answers. One is the machine learning answer that goes back a
Yep.
couple years, and that was about helping large clients figure out how do we match incoming payments to open invoices, and seeing that product work for the first time in production with real production load, and again bring that to a large organization, shared service center, globally set up, was super exciting because again it was the people element and how can we help our people be more efficient and more effective, and that's really influenced my thinking and shaped my thinking in that sense as well. More recently, right, I've been building agents and agentic workflows for my own business too. Content creation, content repurposing is a big part of my workflow, and where I spend my time. So any time that I can shave off of repurposing, taking a video podcast, putting it into an audio podcast, putting it into a newsletter, putting it into social media promo posts that draw visitors back to the original pieces. That's where I can save a lot of time without necessarily having to add my own expertise again, because it's already there. It's in the core information, right? So many of you might have similar workflows as well. And seeing that and building that out and just seeing over the last 2 years what is possible, how models are evolving, how architectures are evolving is super exciting too, because it gets so much easier to build these things. And also, you know, for tech savvy business users, citizen developers, I think is what we've called them recently, it becomes much more achievable, much more attainable to do the same thing with low code, no code tools, and to me that's exciting. What's possible.
Yeah, it's interesting the mention of the citizen developer term, because both you and I, Intelligent Now, know each other back from our automation days. I think is kind of when we initially met each other and interacted with each other. I just find it curious that people are not really using the term citizen developer. Or maybe you could disagree with me. You know, maybe because it had failed so much in that automation field, but in the age of AI, it's actually becoming much more of a reality. Just an interesting sidetrack there.
I think it's by the way, I think it's two-sided, right? It's an opportunity, but also for businesses that are turning a blind eye on this, or who are not aware of the challenges, it can also become a risk when you have you know, citizen developers or more tech savvy business people spinning up agents, building things on the side that are unmonitored, that are unguarded, and from a security point of view, just keeping that in mind as well, because yes, there's a lot of push getting agents out there and experimenting with the technology, but from an IT and IT security point of view, we still need to make sure that our data is safeguarded and that we don't have any data leakage and so on. So balancing the two, as always, risk and reward applies here just as much as it has in any previous generation of technology.
Excellent. That's a great sidetrack. So what if we were to put on like your crystal ball hat type of, and I know that you are a true futurist, or I would consider you one by the true definition of the word. What's the next or maybe even it's like the current AI use case that you're looking to crack that you would love to see go live in the future? You know, something that could get you just as enthusiastic and excited as that invoice processing one that you mentioned previously. What do you feel is the next wave of agents that could impact organizations positively?
So we're seeing the foreshadowing of that already in some of the early previews and some of the beta, some of the early access type offerings that AI labs are making available. We've had, for example, computer use agents available for what now, 6 months, 9 months, something like that, from Manus AI to now OpenAI and others, where your agent can control your browser. Some of these tools might be relatively slow, or in some areas might be brittle. We've known this from UI level automation with RPA and things like that. But just the fact that there is an intelligent component that can navigate a browser that can enter information for you, I think that's super promising. So I'm excited to see where this is going over the next quarters. Right, think of otherwise disparate experiences. Booking a trip, you need a hotel, you need a car, you need a flight. Doing that through an agent like that, in absence of otherwise APIs or something where you could do that. That's super promising. We're seeing companies like OpenAI and Walmart partner on checkout, right? Digital checkout, e-commerce built into ChatGPT and other tools. So generative AI tools, agentic AI tools are becoming the new user experience layer. Many people already use them and talk to their agent, talk to their assistant like they would talk to a person, right? We don't need to sit there and type information on a keyboard or on a small screen. So when you bring these things together, on one hand being able to control the browser, on the other interacting through voice, this time for real, and then being able to do more with these agents, commerce, finance, these types of transactions, that gets me excited because it opens up so many more opportunities for businesses as well. And as a business and IT leader, you need to think about that too. How can we evolve to that age and to that era where we don't necessarily see traffic or as much traffic on our website, but we can see traffic through these agents that funnel requests to us, or businesses that do business with us.
Thank you very much, Intelligent Al. And this is a great opportunity also to call back on a few of our what will be previous guests once we release your episode. And especially folks in the payments space talk extensively about enhancing the user experience and the customer experience through the payment processes, something that hasn't been traditionally something that those types of organizations or those types of departments have been able to impact, but now so much more so are able to do so with AI. So I think there's a lot of alignment with what you just shared in terms of enhancing the business value and enhancing the user experience is something that has been coming up quite frequently. So thank you very much for that. And if we can conclude with one final prepared question, I would describe as, what would be your advice for somebody who knows that they should be involved with AI, but isn't doing as much as they would like? What resources, besides, of course, yourself, would you suggest, or words of motivation that you would share? We want to make sure that we're making people feel comfortable with advancing their AI use, but go ahead.
So using AI is like riding a bike. The first time you try to get on, you probably fell off. You need to learn how to keep your balance. And you don't learn it just by watching videos, watching Tour de France, or looking at pictures of bikes. No, you actually need to get on the bike. You need to start learning. Maybe have some training reels at the beginning, especially if you're little. But over time, you build confidence, and you don't need the training wheels anymore. And you go up a hill, you go down a hill, you know how to brake, you know how to accelerate. Using AI, using agents is just like that. You need to make it a habit. You need to practice. You need to continuously practice, right? If you haven't sat on a bike for a couple of years and you get on, it feels a little awkward, right? And your muscles get sore much more quickly than if you ride it regularly. So my recommendation is look for tools that are easy to use, especially if you're more in a business function or less tech savvy or not necessarily a developer. There's so many exciting tools to play around with. One that I've been using more in my trainings regularly and recently is called relay.app.
Okay.
It's a low-code, no-code tool where you can build your agents. Could be automating your newsletter flow. And aggregating information, have it send you an email in the morning. Here are the top news, things that you missed that you should read about a certain topic. That's something that's really, really good. But even using things like deep research in ChatGPT to get more familiar with how do these agents actually work? How should I prompt them? What happens if I just give very little information? How much context do I need to give? And just see how they work. I think that's the easiest thing you can do, especially if you already have a subscription to your favorite AI assistant or tool.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate the specific recommendation, encouraging folks who are listening to go off and check out Relay. We love hearing specific tools. All right, so a final fun tradition that we have here in order to keep the momentum of Agents of AI going. Your recommendation, Mr. Intelligent Al, the next, or who you would suggest is a favorite agent of AI. This could be a peer, a thought leader, but specifically someone who you would suggest to be our next guest. I guess it is the way that we like to cue this up.
Let me think. I'm sure you know him. I think you've probably known each other also since the days of automation, and he's done a lot of great work around AI. He's based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I think Lasse Rindom would be an awesome guest to have on your show. I've been following Lasse's content for a number of years now, and we've been connecting just as long. And I think he brings an exciting perspective and relevant perspective to how do you bring AI to business as well. So big shout out to Lasse, and I hope that you can make it work.
Definitely. I hope so too. Lasse, we're coming for you, or if I haven't already yet, I forget. But in any case, yeah, that's a great recommendation for those of you, even if we don't secure Lasse as a future next guest. He is a great thought leader and somebody that's a perfect follow on LinkedIn, has done a really incredible job of increasing and elevating his content, especially over the past few years, I would say, or at least from my personal perspective. But in any case, that brings us to the big ending of this episode. Mr. Intelligent Al, if you wouldn't mind clicking over yourself again and removing the avatar. So if you go back to your filters and unselect it, it should automatically remove it.
Okay, drum roll.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so here we go. Hey.
Hey, and we're wearing matching shirts. I didn't even realize that at the beginning. Yes. Thank you. I've made it a tradition. I don't say the person's name. You introduce yourself. I would love to. Let's tell the audience more about you. Yeah.
Awesome. So hi, everyone. My name is Andreas Welch. I'm a top 10 agentic AI advisor. I'm a thought leader. I'm a speaker and trainer on the topic of AI in leadership. I'm the author of the best-selling AI leadership handbook. If you want to figure out how can I bring AI to my business, that's a top resource. I'm a creator on LinkedIn, a top voice, a LinkedIn learning instructor, an adjunct professor. There's hardly anything in the space that I don't do these days. Please give me a follow on LinkedIn if you'd love to learn more about how to bring AI to your company, or reach out for some more tailored advice. Peter, thank you so much for the opportunity today.
No, thank you, Andreas, for being a guest. I was smiling especially wide as you were introducing yourself because, I don't know, a little bit of context. Andreas and I have interacted for quite some time and have always supported each other's content and each other's work. We've overlapped in so many ways, but this is the first time that we're talking to each other directly. So, Andreas, really, really honored to have somebody like yourself be a part of the program, especially early days here. And I do also want to reciprocate the commitment that you've made by encouraging my network, encouraging anybody listening to this call to go subscribe to Andreas's work, read his book, be a part of his network and ecosystem, because not only is he a gracious individual who's willing to support everybody like ourselves, but also he's a brilliant one too. So thank you for joining the program. For those of you, I think that's it. Is there any other last calls, last highlights, Andreas, of how to get in touch with you? Is LinkedIn the best, or we'll point everybody there? Yeah,
LinkedIn is the best. And maybe famous last words, despite all of the technology and talk and hype and fear, just keep in mind that there's still people working in the business with each other.
Yeah. Great final words. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.